Amazing transformation revealed. This grandma's heartwarming story will change your life forever. Mabel sighed as she gazed at the empty kitchen, the silence ringing louder than the clattering of her mixing bowls. The heart of her home, once bustling with laughter and chatter, now echoed with memories. She could almost hear her children's voices, their carefree giggles blending with the smell of fresh apple pie cooling on the counter. It had been a while since she had seen Sarah, her youngest, whose high-powered job in the city had pulled her farther away not just in distance but in spirit. Mabel's heart ached with each passing day without her children near her. But today, inspiration sparked like the flame of her oven. The annual town bake-off was around the corner. It was just the event she needed, a chance to dive back into the world of joy that baking brought her, plus an opportunity to reconnect with Sarah. Mabel envisioned the two of them, side by side in that cozy kitchen once more, stirring batter, swirling frosting, laughing through floury messes. With hope in her heart, she decided that she would enter the competition, not just to win, but to bridge the gap that had grown between them. As the aroma of her signature cherry chocolate cupcakes filled the air, Mabel thought about the bake-off and what it could mean for her and Sarah. Would this rekindle their relationship? Perhaps with every cupcake, she could sprinkle a bit of their old magic back into their bond. Yet, a shadow loomed over her excitement, the financial struggles that clung to her like an unwanted guest. Bills piled up on the counter, whispers of selling the family bakery lurking in the background. It felt like a dark cloud over the kitchen, but hope was her sunshine. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Mabel poured her heart into her baking, churning out batches for the local veterans clinic. Each frosting swirl became a declaration of her love and gratitude. It was these small acts of kindness that brought her joy, illuminating the dark corners of her loneliness. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to her, Sarah caught wind of her mother's struggle, the concern seizing her chest like an iron grip. She felt torn, a swirl of guilt and ambition. As her corporate career flourished, Mabel's life seemed to fray at the edges. The day of the bake-off arrived amidst grumbles of thunder from the looming clouds. Mabel held her head high, her heart pounding like the weather-beaten shutters on her windows. Standing before the eager crowd was a challenge, but to her, it was a chance to voice her love. Yet, as Sarah stepped into the venue, her eyes locked onto the cupcakes adorned with vibrant colors, the weight of their unspoken words fell heavy between them. Would Mabel's cupcakes, crafted from years of love and countless memories, weave the fabric of their family closer again? Or would the financial storm pull them further apart? The moment hung in the air, fraught with tension, as each woman braced for what the next turn would reveal: love, conflict, and hope intertwined in a dance they had not expected. Would the bake-off be their moment of reckoning, or simply another slice of the same solitude they had been trapped within for so long? The crowd buzzed with excitement as the bake-off kicked off, the air thick with sweet scents and a hint of competition. Mabel took a deep breath, her fingers lightly dusting flour off her apron. She watched as contestants hurried by, their faces flushed with enthusiasm. But for her, it felt different. Her heart raced not just from the thrill of the event, but from the hope that today might lead to something more. Every time she glanced at the table piled high with her cherry chocolate cupcakes, memories danced in her mind. Baking had always been their shared joy. Mabel remembered Sarah's tiny hands, eager to help, her little voice asking questions and giggling as they made a mess of the kitchen together. Those moments felt like relics of a simpler time, now overshadowed by distance and ambition. "Mom?" The soft voice pulled her from her thoughts. Mabel turned to see Sarah standing there, a mix of surprise and hesitation in her eyes. Mabel's heart quickened not just from the sight of her daughter, but from the unspoken words that hung between them. "Sarah! You made it!" Mabel called out, forcing a smile, trying to mask the whirlwind of emotion within. "I wanted you to be here. I couldn't miss it." Sarah hesitated, glancing at the cupcakes. You really went all out. I thought you might like to help, Mabel said, holding out a piping bag, the pink icing shimmering in the light. For a moment, it felt like old times, the shared laughter, the playful icing fights. But the reality hung heavily, their connection still far from where it used to be. I've got a lot of work, Sarah said, her eyes darting towards her phone. But I wanted to see how you're doing. There was a sincerity in her voice that made Mabel's heart ache. Can you spare a few moments? Mabel's voice trembled. She needed this to pull Sarah back into their world, if only for a little bit. Help me decorate these cupcakes? Sarah bit her lip, the weight of her choices visibly caging her. I really should go. The regret in her eyes was unmistakable. Mabel's heart sank, like a cupcake without enough rise. Just for a minute? Mabel pressed gently. We could talk about everything. Life has changed so much. As Sarah hesitated, the competition officially began. A bell rang, and bakers rushed toward their stations. The moment was slipping away as quickly as Mabel's heart was fluttering with hope. Frustration bubbled silently within her, but she steadied herself. Okay, Sarah finally relented, stepping closer to the table, taking the piping bag from Mabel. Just a few minutes, Mom. The tension eased slightly, and they began to swirl icing together. Sarah's instinctive talent emerged, and Mabel couldn't help but smile, reminiscing about when Sarah decorated cakes for her friends' birthdays. Laughter bubbled between them, while their hands worked in tandem. With each swirl, Mabel felt the bond begin to pulse back to life, even as a part of her remained tethered to the worries that loomed above them. But just as hope began to weave itself back in, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. Clara, an old rival from the bake circuit, strode forward with confidence. Her cold smile made Mabel's stomach twist. Clara had always held the title of champion, and the shadows of envy resurfaced. Ah, Mabel. Still baking your famous cupcakes? Clara's laughter was sharp, turning heads. In that moment, Mabel felt exposed, vulnerability sweeping in as she faced the reality of the competition. Sarah's eyes flickered between her and Clara, tension washing back over them. Just because you think of me as competition doesn't mean I've stopped loving to bake, Mabel shot back, her voice rising with unexpected boldness. The flurry of emotions, the rekindling of hope, the bitterness of rivalry, it all swirled in the air like the frosting that now adorned the cupcakes. What would this moment mean for Mabel if she stood her ground? Would Sarah finally see the fire in her spirit? The stakes were rising higher than ever. As Mabel locked eyes with Clara, she felt the rush of determination flood her veins, a daunting question hanging in the air. Could standing up for herself be the bridge back to Sarah, and would it spark a transformation they both desperately needed? Nerves danced in Mabel's stomach as Clara stood there, arms crossed, a smug expression plastered on her face. The familiarity of rivalry seeped into the atmosphere like thick syrup, sticky and troublesome. Mabel's heart pounded not just for the competition but for the possibility that Sarah could see a new side of her. Come on, Mabel. Let us face it. You could use a bit of my help over there, Clara taunted, her voice dripping with condescension. Mabel resisted the urge to roll her eyes. She wasn't about to let Clara steal this moment, not after finally reconnecting with Sarah. Thanks, but I think we're doing just fine, Mabel replied, her tone steadier than she felt. She glanced at Sarah, hoping to read something in her daughter's expression. Was there disappointment? Pride? Maybe a hint of encouragement? But Sarah was silent, absorbed in frosting as if it were all that mattered in the world. Mabel took a deep breath, heart racing. She had to show Sarah that strength could bloom from vulnerability, just like a beautiful rose from a humble seed. Clara chuckled, the sound reverberating in the busy backdrop of the bake-off. Fine, enjoy your little baking session. Let us see if you can compete with the real talent. With that, she sauntered away, a storm cloud trailing behind her. Mabel gripped the piping bag tighter, a pulsing determination lighting her from within. Sarah, I want to show you something. She stepped closer, lowering her voice slightly as if it were a secret. You remember why I love baking? Sarah finally looked up, her expression softening. It's always been about creating memories, right? Exactly. Mabel said, excitement bubbling in her chest. Baking is more than the competition, it's about joy, love, and connection. It's a way to bring the people we care about together. What if we could win? Sarah's eyes sparkled with ambition. Mabel chuckled lightly. Winning is great, but it's not everything. I'm here today because I want us to connect to create new memories, even if we don't take home any awards. For the first time, Sarah smiled genuinely, and Mabel felt a weight lift. The past felt like a soft whisper, and in that moment, they were together again as mother and daughter, sharing a passion that once tied them inseparably. I get it, Mom. I really do, Sarah said, her voice soft but firm. But I think we can do both, connect and compete. Yes. Let us make it fun. Let us show them what we can do together. Mabel exclaimed. The thrill surged through her, a dizzying thrill that whispered of hope and healing. As they decorated the remaining cupcakes together, the air filled with laughter and frosting fights, and for a brief, golden moment, the weight of the world faded away. Sarah's initial hesitance was washed over, replaced by their shared enthusiasm. But amidst their laughter, Mabel spotted Clara in the distance, whispering something to a fellow competitor. A pang of doubt surfaced. Would Clara always linger, a reminder of what had once separated them? Just then, the competition's announcer called attention to a special surprise. The top 3 contestants would showcase their specialties and receive feedback from local celebrity chefs. The stakes had just gone up a notch. Mabel's heart thudded. Was she truly ready for this? Could her newfound confidence hold against the likes of Clara? She looked at Sarah, whose eyes were gleaming with determination. We can do this together, Mabel said, conviction flooding every word. In that moment, Mabel knew they were no longer just in a bake-off. They were part of something much bigger, a chance for transformation, not just for her, but for Sarah too. But could they overcome the shadows of competition and rivalry, or would the pressure pull them apart once again? As Mabel looked over at Clara, a tight smile on her face, she felt the weight of the question hanging in the air, thick with potential. What would happen next? Mabel felt the air thick with anticipation as the announcement echoed through the bustling tent, drowning out the sound of whisks and sprinkled flour. Her heart raced at the thought of standing in front of judges, their critical eyes weighing her every move. She turned to Sarah, whose gaze mirrored her excitement and anxiety. Are we really doing this? Showcasing our cupcakes for the judges? Sarah asked, biting her lip. Mabel nodded, her own nervousness settling into a steely resolve. Together. We've come this far. Let us give them a show. The minutes passed like hours as they hurried to finalize their creation. Each cupcake was a canvas, bursting with colors and flavors. The combination of lemon zest and blueberry frosting made their treats shine brighter than any around. Mabel couldn't help but feel proud of what they'd accomplished, their laughter ringing in harmony with the chaotic frenzy of the bake-off. As they set up their display, Mabel stole a glance at Clara, who was expertly decorating her own confection with an air of superiority. Clara caught Mabel's gaze and raised an eyebrow, a smug smirk dancing on her lips. It was a reminder of all the doubts that had crept back into Mabel's mind just as quickly as they faded. This isn't just about winning, right, Mom? Sarah said suddenly, grounding Mabel back in the moment. It's about what we learned from each other. Mabel exhaled slowly, settling her racing thoughts. Yes. This moment, what we're doing right now, is the victory. The announcement rang out again, calling the top 3 contestants to the front. Mabel's breath hitched. Would they be recognized for the bond they had woven in the kitchen, or would Clara's ambition overshadow their efforts? Then it hit her, it didn't really matter what others thought. They had transformed together, creating something beautiful beyond competition. With a quick squeeze of Sarah's hand, she focused on the fun in the experience, the joy that blossomed despite Clara's presence. As they approached the judges, Mabel's heart swelled. The excitement radiating from Sarah spurred her on. Just remember, it's not just cupcakes. It's our story. They stood before the three celebrity chefs with their colorful creations, the scent of vanilla and citrus wafting through the air. Mabel felt the warmth of the crowd surrounding them, an invisible support wrapping them up like a blanket. The first judge took a tentative bite, the audience leaning forward in breathless anticipation. Mabel watched with bated breath as his eyebrows lifted and a smile broke across his face. This is exceptional. It's like a burst of sunshine in every bite. Encouraged, Mabel and Sarah shared a glance. They were in this together, the pressure transforming into adrenaline. But as the second judge complimented their work, Clara's voice pierced through the moment. Don't get too comfortable, Mabel. We both know I'll produce something that truly stands out. Like I always do. Mabel's composure faltered momentarily. Clara's words rang out, filled with a venomous certainty. How could she shake off this lingering competition? Shifting her focus back to Sarah, Mabel realized it wasn't just about winning against Clara. It was about protecting the joy they had discovered anew. With renewed energy, Mabel beckoned Sarah closer. Remember what we talked about, creating memories together. No matter the trophy, we already have so much. As they worked side by side, Mabel felt a surge of confidence rushing through her. Perhaps this was the moment of transformation they both needed, a lesson in resilience not only in baking but in their relationship, a sweet reminder that sometimes the journey mattered more than the destination. But just as the excitement reached its crescendo, the announcer revealed the top contestants. Would their connection be enough to carry them through? Would they finally take a step toward healing their relationship? Mabel's heart raced. She was ready for anything, even if the outcome wasn't what she hoped for. Mabel's stomach churned as the announcement lingered in the air, a slow-motion moment that felt as if it would stretch into infinity. She held her breath, eager yet apprehensive, while the crowd buzzed with muted chatter, their anticipation palpable. The announcer was adjusting his glasses, poised over the microphone, as he finally began to speak. And in third place, we have Clara Thompson. The crowd erupted into applause, both amazed and slightly relieved. Clara's smile, however, was tight-lipped as she graciously accepted her deserved recognition, her eyes casting a challenging glance toward Mabel and Sarah. Staying strong, Mabel whispered to Sarah, squeezing her hand tightly. They were in this together, regardless of the looming shadows of rivalry. The announcer's voice cut through the lingering tension. In second place, we have Mabel and Sarah. The warmth of applause washed over them, yet Mabel's heart sank a little as she glanced at Clara, whose expression was a mixture of victory and scorn. Had they truly come all this way, only to be overshadowed once more? Mom Sarah's voice was barely audible, a thread of disappointment weaving through her tone. We tried so hard. Mabel knelt down, looking her daughter in the eyes. And we did it together. Remember how good it felt to create those cupcakes? That joy is the real prize. She fought to maintain her own spirits despite the sting of the announcement. As Clara celebrated her own victory in the spotlight, Mabel felt a mix of resentment and peace. Clara was a formidable competitor, yet this wasn't the end of her journey, it was just a stepping stone. The announcer took a dramatic pause before revealing the top winner. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the grand prize goes to. He let the suspense linger another second, and Mabel held her breath. Clara Thompson. The crowd erupted into cheers, and Clara performed a triumphant pose, receiving adoration she felt was well-deserved. Yet beneath her excitement, Mabel felt an unfamiliar calm. This moment wouldn't shake the bond she had with Sarah. As Clara basked in the accolades, Mabel turned to her daughter, whose eyes sparkled, still ignited with hope. We can do even better next time, Mabel said. Together, we'll find a way to take those lessons forward. Sarah's smile flickered back to life. I loved every moment, Mom. Can we try baking again just for fun? Yes. Mabel exclaimed, relief washing over her at Sarah's infectious enthusiasm. Next time, let us make a whole bakery together. We can experiment with flavors and designs, just us, in our kitchen. Mabel felt her heart swell with a renewed purpose, veering away from Clara's shadow. Perhaps this wasn't the victory they had envisioned, but it was a beautiful beginning. They shared a sweet laugh, already dreaming of their next baking adventure. As the crowd began to disperse, and Clara's celebration slowly dimmed in the background, Mabel leaned close to Sarah and whispered, "Do you want to go check out those baking supplies now? I think we should get ready for our greatest creation yet." Sarah's face lit up. Their eyes sparkled with the potential of new recipes and memories. Mabel felt a rush of warmth as they headed out of the tent. There was so much they could build together, a sweet oasis of joy fortified against competition. But just as they were about to exit, Clara's voice rang out sharply, filled with mockery. "You think this was just a fluke, don't you? You'll never truly reach the top." Mabel's heart dropped momentarily. Clara's words hung heavy in the air, challenging everything they had built together. Would they let someone else decide their worth? What came next for them, now that Clara had thrown down the gauntlet? The air around them crackled with tension, but Mabel gazed at Sarah, feeling the familiar bond they had forged. She was ready to conquer this mountain with her daughter again. "Bring it on," she whispered, her heart racing with defiance. With a firm step forward, Mabel knew they were just getting started. As they stepped outside, the cool breeze wrapped around them like a comforting hug. Mabel took a deep breath, trying to shake off Clara's biting words. "That girl really knows how to spoil a moment," she muttered. Sarah still seemed caught in Clara's challenge, her brows slightly knitted together. "Do you think we can really get better, Mom?" Mabel knelt beside her, brushing loose strands of hair behind Sarah's ear. "It's not just about the baking, sweetheart. It's about us. We have each other's backs, and that means everything in this world." Sarah nodded, but Mabel could see the worry lingering in her eyes. They wandered towards the small shop where they often found baking supplies, the scent of vanilla wafting in the air from inside. It was a familiar place, a sanctuary almost. She wanted Sarah to feel that again, to embrace the joy they created together rather than the shadows of their competition. Inside, they were greeted by an array of colorful sprinkles and baking tools, all waiting to be transformed into sweetness. Mabel reached for a bright, pink frosting tube. "How about this one for our new bakery? Pink sprinkle cupcakes to start." Sarah giggled. "Yes. And chocolate chip cookies? With giant chunks of chocolate?" "Absolutely." Mabel agreed, her heart swelling at Sarah's enthusiasm. They began gathering ingredients, the unspoken plan of their next baking adventure igniting excitement in the air. But just as Mabel was about to reach for some sprinkles, her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from her friend, Elsie. Glancing at the screen, her heart sank. "Oh, it's Clara's mom. She wants to discuss the scorecards from the competition." "What does she want to talk about?" Sarah asked, her curiosity evident. Mabel hesitated, contemplating whether to respond. She didn't want to think about Clara right now. "Just some details about the contest," she replied, forcing a smile. "Let us just focus on us." But the words twirled in her mind, nagging her like an itch she couldn't scratch. Was Clara's victory really just luck? Or were there things they could improve? "Mom, do you think we should check the scorecards?" Sarah asked after a moment. "Maybe we could learn from it and do better next time." Mabel's heart flipped. Sarah was right. Facing their fears could lead them to growth. "Okay, let us do it." But we won't let her negativity break our spirit. Once home, Mabel spread out the scorecards on the kitchen table, their vibrant colors contrasting against the dull paper. Mabel's eyes swept over the figures, noting the feedback. Some of it seemed harsh, but there were glimmers of praise too. Sarah sat beside her, pointing at their scores with bright eyes. "Look, Mom. We didn't do bad here, and we got a high score for creativity." Mabel smiled, appreciating Sarah's perspective. "You're right. Focus on what we can build. Not what is holding us back." As they discussed each comment, a sense of camaraderie grew between them, shaping a renewed sense of purpose. The more they talked about improvements, the more excited Mabel felt. They were talking about next time, about determination. "Can we go back next year, even if Clara is there?" Sarah asked innocently. Of course, Mabel assured her, fighting the shadows creeping back into her mind. Next time, we'll shine even brighter. Just as they locked eyes, a sudden thought struck her. What if we do our sweet challenge earlier? We can create something that isn't just for competition. Something to give to others, a real purpose. Sarah's expression lit up at the idea. Yes. We can give cupcakes to our neighbors. Mabel laughed, a joyous sound. They'll love that. And who knows, maybe we'll stumble onto something special through it all. Just then, a knock broke through the excitement. It was Clara standing at the door, a confident smirk painting her face. Looks like you two are busy, she said, crossing her arms. Mabel felt her stomach churn again, the defiance mixing with uncertainty. What did Clara want? And how would they handle this confrontation that loomed over their newfound joy? With an unsteady breath, Mabel stepped forward. What do you want, Clara? The answer hung in the air between them, filled with unspoken challenges and the possibility of change. Clara's smirk widened, her eyes sparkling with mischief. I just came to see what all the buzz was about, she said, waving a hand dismissively over the colorful ingredients scattered across the table. Did you really think a few cupcakes would make up for losing? Please. Mabel felt anger rise, like a storm brewing inside her. This was the girl who thrived on tearing others down, and yet here she was, invading their moment of joy. But then she caught a glimpse of Sarah's worried face and quickly steeled herself. We're just getting started, Clara. You might be surprised by what we can do together. Together? Clara scoffed. You really think that little cupcake challenge is going to make you better? You're wasting your time. Actually, we're hoping to spread some love with our baking, Sarah chimed in, her voice rising above Clara's taunts. It's not about winning for us anymore. It's about sharing sweetness with others. Mabel felt her heart swell at Sarah's words. Exactly. You focus on the competition, but we're finding joy in what we create. For a moment, Clara looked taken aback. Joy? She repeated, as though the word tasted foreign on her tongue. What does that even mean when you're not number one? Mabel took a deep breath, ready to challenge Clara's mindset. Joy means finding purpose and happiness in the process, not just the outcome. It's about the moments we share together. Ugh, spare me the speech, Clara interrupted, rolling her eyes. You'll see. In a real competition, the winners are the ones who know how to rise above. Little did Mabel know, Clara's challenge sparked something deeper within her. She wasn't just a competitor, she was a reminder of everything Mabel wanted to avoid. Building a bakery wasn't solely about the score, it was about love, laughter, and resilience. Do you want to come in and bake with us? Mabel blurted out before she could hold back. The idea rolled off her tongue with surprising ease, flowing from her desire to turn this confrontation into something priceless, into an opportunity for unexpected growth. Clara hesitated, her confidence faltering for just a moment. Bake with you? Why not? Mabel said, matching Clara's unmatched confidence with her own. Try something more constructive instead of just tearing us down. Sarah's eyes sparkled with hope. Please, Clara. We could use a few more hands. Mabel watched Clara, assessing the silence that stretched between them. Would she accept this invitation, or would she choose to walk away, sulking back into her comfort zone of envy and spite? But Clara's expression flickered. Was it surprise? Or maybe, just maybe, curiosity? For once, someone was challenging her. Mabel felt the tension inching toward a breakthrough or a standoff. Fine, Clara finally said, an edge still present in her voice but also something softer. Let us see what you've got. But don't expect me to go easy on you. Mabel held back a smile. Without fully realizing it, Clara had shifted from competitor to collaborator, and this could be their chance to learn from each other, to forge an unlikely bond. As they worked through the cupcakes together, exchanging ideas and techniques, the kitchen filled with laughter. The atmosphere began to shift, and a connection simmered just beneath the surface. It was in those moments that Mabel understood that true transformation was possible, even between enemies. It wasn't just the cupcakes that mattered, it was building bridges instead of walls. But as their mixture of cupcakes turned an unexpected shade of vibrant pink, and the scent swelled into the room, a wave of anxiety crashed over Mabel. Would Clara regress back into her old self? Would she backstab them when they least expected it? Just then, as Clara burst into laughter after a few too many sprinkles flew, Mabel couldn't help but wonder. Could this budding friendship withstand the challenges ahead? And what if Clara truly found joy in sharing more than just cupcakes? Little did they know, the sweetest surprises are often mixed with the bitter truths of life, waiting to reveal themselves when least expected. The cupcakes were taking shape, and the filter of clashing personalities began to dissolve in a flurry of flour and whipped cream. Mabel watched as Clara manned the mixer with fierce determination, her brow furrowed in concentration. It was a different side of Clara, one that showed she could channel her passion into creation instead of destruction. Add more vanilla, Clara instructed, her voice firm but devoid of its previous edge. Sarah nodded, clearly delighted to be collaborating with both Mabel and Clara in this new light. As they mixed and blended, each moment felt like a lesson in camaraderie. Mabel used her time to dispense wisdom about baking techniques, and surprisingly, Clara listened. You know, Mabel said, measuring out flour carefully, baking is really just like life. If you don't measure things right, it can all fall apart. Clara rolled her eyes, but there was a playful glimmer in her expression. Yeah. It's all about balance and teamwork. I get it. But then she added, I bet you were one of those kids who shared your crayons and never wanted to win at anything. Mabel chuckled. Not really. I just learned that sometimes you can win by letting others shine too. Clara paused, her fingers sticky with batter. What if I don't want to share the spotlight? That's okay too, Sarah interjected, eyes wide with hope. It just means you're still figuring it out. Everyone has their own journey. As they prepared to decorate the cupcakes, Clara grabbed a handful of pink sprinkles and tossed them into the air dramatically, eliciting a fit of giggles from Sarah and Mabel. The pink glittery cascade landed on them, a liveliness that was infectious. In that reckless moment, Clara was just a girl having fun, a spontaneous burst of happiness. Mabel hadn't realized how deeply she had missed having connection. With each passing minute, the kitchen atmosphere shifted into something almost festive. They were no longer the awkward trio, they were a cohesive unit. Mabel. Look. I made a rainbow cupcake. Clara triumphantly held up her creation, a hodgepodge of colors piled high, but it was beautiful in its own chaotic way. That's awesome. Mabel grinned, feeling affection swell in her chest. A little messy, but that's kind of the point, right? Totally. Clara smiled back, something deep in her eyes warming to life. As they shared stories, ambitions, and laughter, Mabel found herself reflecting on the past. Clara wasn't just a rival, she was a kaleidoscope of circumstances, shaped by her own experiences. Clara had her doubts like everyone else. It made Mabel wonder what uncertainties lay beneath Clara's cool exterior. But just as the cupcake experience began to feel unbreakably joyful, the door swung open. Mabel's mom entered the kitchen holding a tablet. Hey! I had to tell you guys. I saw an announcement online. Clara stiffened, her earlier laughter dissipating into the air. What is it? She asked quickly, her confidence wavering again. Mabel held her breath, a gut feeling stirring in her. Was this about the competition? Would all their efforts be overshadowed by someone else's opinion? As her mom's voice continued, Mabel focused on Clara, who was biting her lip in anxiety. This was a moment that could either deepen their connection or tear it apart. What now? Sarah whispered, eyes darting between Mabel and Clara, awaiting confirmation of their newfound alliance. In an instant, Mabel knew they were at a crossroads. Would Clara's past take the helm again, or would they each commit to embracing this unexpected bond? Mabel clenched her fists, ready for whatever news lay ahead, not just for herself but for Clara and Sarah too. What curveball would fate throw next into their budding friendship? Mabel's heart raced as her mom's voice filled the room, breaking the pregnant silence. The competition is announcing a new category this year: team baking. They're inviting pairs to showcase their skills together. Clara's eyes widened in surprise. Wait, what? Team baking? They didn't do that last year. The realization seemed to dawn on her, turning her tension into a flicker of enthusiasm. Sarah squealed in delight. This is amazing. We could all enter together. The idea took shape in the kitchen, swirling like the colors of the frosting they had been playing with. Mabel felt an excitement she hadn't anticipated. The worries that had been gripping her now began to ease away. Maybe we should. Mabel exclaimed, catching Clara's gaze. We could create something truly special. Together. Clara hesitated. But what if we don't win? What if it's a disaster? Maybe it doesn't matter. Mabel said gently. What if it's about enjoying the process? We just had a fantastic time baking together, right? For a moment, Clara looked pensive, her lips pressed together in what Mabel recognized as the familiar mask of control. But she saw a flicker of something: vulnerability behind Clara's eyes. Yeah, but what if Clara started trailing off? She was clearly torn. Let us make our own rules, Sarah said, her voice bubbling with optimism. We can have fun with it, decorate however we want. No right or wrong. It was the embrace of that playful spirit that began to chip at Clara's armor. Mabel could see it, the sparks of hope igniting within her. Okay, Clara said finally, a challenge lighting her face. I'm in. But we're going to win, right? Mabel laughed, feeling the warmth of connection spreading through her heart. Winning would be nice, but let us make cupcakes that truly represent who we are. They spent the next hour brainstorming flavors and decorations, their laughter echoing in the kitchen like music. Clara shared her wild ideas, and Mabel encouraged every outrageous suggestion. Sarah danced around them, sprinkling sugar and joy into the mix. Let us go big. A cupcake that explodes with flavor, Clara suggested, flailing her arms to emphasize her enthusiasm. Flavors that complement each other, Sarah chimed in. How about a chocolate raspberry explosion? Or a lemon lavender twist? Clara added, and Mabel nodded vigorously. The air felt electric, filled with possibilities. For the first time, it didn't feel like a competition. It felt like a celebration of friendship. Every careful measurement and each sprinkle added felt like a step towards something bigger than just cupcakes. But increasing the excitement was a possibility looming in each of their minds: was this newfound teamwork real? Would the bond they were forming hold against the pressure of the competition? As they finished decorating their final cupcake, Clara turned to Mabel, a serious look on her face. Promise me we won't let this ruin our friendship if things go south? Winning isn't everything. Mabel swallowed the knot in her throat. I promise. No matter what. Just as they shared a moment of understanding, the kitchen door swung open again. Mabel's older brother, Tim, leaned casually against the frame, his phone in hand. You guys need to see this. His tone made the air shift, a deeper tension creeping back in. What now? Clara said, her playful demeanor instantly freezing over. Tim held up his phone, his expression grave. It's about the competition. There's something you need to know. Mabel felt her heart drop. Would this news be the test they feared? Would it jeopardize everything they'd worked to build in that kitchen today? Tim's next words were waiting, hanging precariously in the air. What revelation awaited them? Would their cupcake adventure become a real-life testament of friendship or spin into a winding road of uncertainty? Tim's face bore the weight of urgency as he swiped through the screen. Listen, Clara, they've put you in the spotlight. They're saying you have a reputation for being ruthless. This year, that could either help or hurt you in the team baking category. People are talking. Clara's eyes widened, a mix of disappointment and irritation flaring. They always twist things. I'm more than that. She turned away, anger shadowing the bright atmosphere they had just forged. We know that, Mabel quickly reassured her, stepping closer. What you do next matters. We can't let this define our partnership. Yeah, Clara. You're more than just your reputation. Sarah piped up, her voice thick with earnestness. I see how much joy you have when cooking with us. Let us focus on what we can create together. Clara paused, biting her lip. Mabel saw her internal struggle. Here was the turning point. Would Clara sink back into her self-doubt, or would she rise to embrace the support around her? Taking a deep breath, Clara squared her shoulders, her determination returning like a flicker of flame. Okay. Let us prove them wrong. Let us bake something awesome. Something that shows how good we are together. Relief flooded Mabel as the tension began to lift again. Absolutely. We have an amazing idea brewing. This is our moment. The three of them quickly came together, each brainstorming ideas that flew from their lips like confetti. The room pulsed with possibilities: a chocolate raspberry explosion, a lemon lavender twist, and for every idea they shot down, something even better emerged. This mix was transformational. They went through the motions of creating the cupcakes, harmonically slicing and mixing rather than the frenzied pace that had once divided them. Clara fit perfectly into the rhythm, and in the sweetness of camaraderie, they became a force, each frosting swirl painting not just their creation but also their friendship. But even amid the joyful chaos, the looming competition hovered at the back of their minds, a silent spectator. Would the outside world appreciate their bond? What if Clara's reputation resurfaced to taint their triumph? As the final touches were laid on their showpiece, a magnificent display of cupcakes that burst with color and flavor, Sarah turned to Mabel, her eyes shining. Do you feel it, Mom? This is different. This feels right. I do, sweetheart, Mabel agreed, her heart swelling. We've formed something beautiful here. But just then, before they could soak in the moment, Tim broke the silence lingering in the kitchen. You know, you two have a lot riding on this. The competition is fierce. You're not just baking against well-known names, but you're against expectations, too. Clara glanced away, breathing out intentionally. I can't believe some folks have already written me off. The past should stay in the past. Then let us erase it with delicious cupcakes. Mabel countered firmly, pulling Clara back into their circle. This is a chance to redefine what you stand for. To embrace who you've become with us. Exactly. Sarah cheered. Let this year be about us. We're baking from our hearts. Their energy ignited again. Clara took a step closer. Okay. Let us show everyone what true teamwork can create. Mabel's heart fluttered. The moment didn't just breathe life into their cakes, it breathed resilience into each of them, a shift that would carry far beyond the competition table. As they headed into the world of competitive baking the next day, timed perfectly for their showcase, the air buzzed with nervous excitement. Mabel anchored herself with Sarah and Clara at her side, her heart racing but filled with a determination stronger than any fear that had dared to creep forward. The competition flew by in a whirlwind of messy counters and nervous laughter. When it was their turn, Mabel felt the lights wash over her, a mix of shyness and adrenaline. Standing before the judges, with Clara on one side and Sarah on the other, she spoke genuinely about the experience they'd created together. This isn't just about winning a trophy, Mabel declared, her voice quaking slightly but resolute. It's about celebrating the joy of baking together and sharing love through our creations. We are family, and that bond makes all the difference. The judges nodded, their expressions softening. Clara spoke up then, her earlier hesitance dissipating. Yes. The flavors we've blended here aren't just ingredients, they represent our journey and so many moments of laughter and learning. If we win, we all win together. The weight of every challenge, every rumor and tarnished name peeled away like frosting, revealing the beauty underneath, a spark of authentic togetherness. As the judges took their first bites, the tent fell silent, tension thick and waiting. Each subtle nod and smile from the judges created surfacing waves of hope. Mabel caught Clara's eye, and for the first time, they both shared a warm, honest smile. No matter the outcome, they had stepped beyond the shadows of competition into a place of strength together. Whatever was thrown their way wouldn't shake their foundation, a bond built on resilience, friendship, and a shared dream. As they awaited the final announcement, pride surged through Mabel. She was ready to embrace whatever came next, a victory or simply the intertwined flavors of their friendship. And as the competition ended, they basked in that electric moment together. Family, laughter, and cupcakes, the sweetest reward of all. So, what carried Mabel, Sarah, and Clara forward wasn't just the possibility of winning, it was the reaffirmation that together they would always rise, stronger than they could ever imagine. Would they continue to bake together? Absolutely. This was just the beginning of their delicious journey, and there would always be new recipes to explore. If the warmth of family could transform lives, they were well on their way to a lifelong journey of sweet, heartfelt adventure. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that will change your life forever. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes all the difference, and it's vital to keep the stories coming. Comment your reactions and feelings about this amazing ending. I want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. They deserve it too.